Hi, welcome. This video is about technology and how technology can have an impact on the delivery of your speech and how you have to know how to use the different bits of tech that are involved in you delivering and giving your speech. By watching this video, you'll understand the importance of knowing about these elements of tech, how to use them, and how to be aware of them and design them into a proactive experience so that you're in control, you enjoy yourself, your audience enjoys themselves, and you deliver an amazing experience and you are remembered and your key messages are acted upon. Let's get into it. The benefit in actually taking control of all of the variables that make up the tech in your speaking performance and delivery is that you are in control, the stress and the tension go down, and you're focused, you're able to get into the zone and deliver the best speech ever without worrying about how to manage all of these different elements of tech. When you're able to manage the technology with confidence and you're in control, and you can smoothly move to using a roving mic, or you're able to switch on and switch off your lavalier mic if you need to, or you're able to present a video off the internet and or bring elements of audio through the speakers around the room, you're in control, you're in charge, and you deliver a smooth experience for your audience. And all of this adds to your credibility, adds to your professionalism, and the audience will pay attention to the message that you're actually delivering. So what are the four key elements of tech that you need to focus on? First, the computer, the PC or the laptop that's going to be available for you to use in the meeting room at the conference venue. Do you know how to use it? Have you got the login password and the login credentials to actually access your presentation? Are you taking your presentation on a USB key or have you emailed it ahead? So the computer, knowing how to use it, knowing how to log in and access your presentation is key, particularly going to full screen when you want to present your slides with the clicker. So the second element of tech that you've got to be aware of is the display. The big screen or the small screen, whatever screen you've got in your venue, in your presentation space that you're going to display your slides on. How does it work? How do you switch it on? Do you have to lower the screen from the ceiling? Is it a big massive screen on the wall? How do you switch it on? How do you switch it off? If something goes wrong whilst you're presenting or it suddenly switches off because it's on pause, how do you get it back on? Do you know where the controls are for the display? Can you manage them whilst you're presenting? Have you tested just throwing a few slides up and seeing what the clarity, the impact, the vibrance, the clarity of your slides looks like in the room? So the other piece of tech is your clicker. Typically this is battery operated with a USB that needs to plug into the PC. But you've got to know how to use the clicker and you've got to make sure that you can manipulate the slides on the display using the clicker with the PC. And this is why it's so important either to turn up 30 minutes before to the venue or to plan a separate trip to test your clicker out. And I've done this a lot of times. A lot of the times the venue's quite surprised to get a call from somebody who's going to be speaking in a couple of weeks or even a couple of days before. They typically don't get speakers coming out and scoping out the venue, but you should, because it is within your control and you should be proactive. And speaking isn't just about technical delivery, it's about designing a complete experience for the audience and for yourselves. So know how to use your clicker, test it out at the venue. And the fourth component of technology that you have to be aware of how to use is the audio. How are you going to speak and how is the volume of your voice going to be projected in that space where you're presenting and speaking? Are you just going to project your voice because it's a small room? Are you just going to talk at normal conversational volume because the acoustics are quite good? Are you going to use a handheld mic? And how are you going to juggle your handheld mic and your clicker? That will then mean that your hands are not free to emphasize particular points and make and use gestures. Or are you going to be mic'd up with a lavalier mic? Who's going to do that? Where is the tech guy? How does that all work? And it's super important to understand who is going to be available for you on the day of your speech at the time of your speech. So you can go and find somebody 30 minutes before to say, the audio's not working properly, can you help me? or I can't log into the PC, can you help me? All of these questions, all of these thoughts, ideas and processes should be part of the planning for your speech and a separate piece of work to actually composing the draft, practicing the draft, sorting out your slides, locating the visuals. It's actually the process of designing an experience for your audience. The other thing that I found has really helped me is knowing how I'm actually going to access my presentation on the day. Some venues have a strict policy, some organisations have a strict policy that you have to email your slide deck across. They will vet and verify, and then they will host it on the iPad, on the laptop, on the computer. And one of the things that you have to check out is, are you going to be able to email your slide deck across? Do you have to use an alternative service like WeTransfer to get your presentation across? And then how are you going to access your slides on the day? Are they going to be available on a folder on the desktop of the PC that you're logging into? Or are you going to take your presentation in on a USB key, plug it in, pull it up, and away you go? The other thing that I've sometimes found is that you may be using the latest version of PowerPoint when you're designing your wonderful slides, and you get to the venue and they're actually using an older version of PowerPoint. And therefore, sometimes your formatting may not translate across perfectly. Again, if you turn up early and you've got enough time, you can adjust this. I was once asked to go and speak to a primary school, a group of about 200 children. And I designed my slides on a new version of PowerPoint, and the school had an older PC with an older version of PowerPoint. When I loaded up my slides and I looked at them on the screen, I'd lost some of my formatting. So my slides that were really beautiful, really great, were now had text and images all over the place. Luckily, I turned up an hour early before my time to speak and present, and I was able to change the formatting of the slides then and there. I was able to deliver my speech to those 200 children on point, without stress, without tension. As soon as you know you've got a talk or you've got a presentation, get in touch with the venue. Find out where you're actually going to be presenting, and as part of your planning process, make a list. Ask all of the questions that you need to from the organisers. When I've had to go and present a speech, one of the things that I do is I email the person who's reached out to me to say, have I got access to a PC? Have I got access to a clicker? Will I be able to access the internet? How big is the display? What about the lighting? What about the space? Now, some of these questions you may decide to figure out for yourself when you turn up for a pre-visit. And I always ask about if I can pre-visit the venue. By doing this, by being proactive in designing your speaking experience, you reduce the stress and the tension of delivering a talk to your audience. And by doing that, and by taking control and being in charge, you free up your true self and your authentic self to shine. Otherwise, it gets suppressed with the stress and tension of having to deal with all of these technology issues. So another thing I suggest that you do when you are working on the display aspect at the venue and checking everything out is walk to the back of the room, to the back of the presenting space, and make sure you can see your slides clearly from the back of the room. Make sure you can read the font for any words or sentences you've got up on the PowerPoint slide, and make sure that your screen is visible to the audience. You almost have to walk through every aspect of your talk and your presentation as if you were a member of the audience. And you need to know about the lighting. That's another element of the technology. How can you dim the lights? How can you brighten them up? You may need to dim them because your display is not bright enough for your slides to pop off the screen. And reducing the lighting by about 60% really makes your slides stand out. Sometimes you can do this by calling ahead and booking a separate visit to the venue well ahead of your speech, where you can walk around, scope out the room, check the different elements of technology, speak and meet with the IT guy, figure out how it's all going to work, who's going to be there on the day to support you. Sometimes this isn't possible. Either the speech you've picked up is last minute, or the venue isn't free for you to pop down and have a look, or the venue may be 300 miles away and you can't travel the 3 hours to check it out a week before. What do? You then go to the venue early. One of the things that I found when I give speeches, talks and presentations is I always try and get to the venue early, at least an hour early or an hour and a half early. And when you're able to do this, and if nobody else is presenting either before or after you, you're able to go to the room, you're able to scope out what the practicalities are of your presenting space, of your environment, and you can start to figure out the technology elements. You can look at what the display is, where is it positioned, how does the lighting work in the room, are your slides able to pop with the lighting, do you need to turn the lights down? Do you have a couple of roving mics that you can use when your audience asks you questions? And that will contribute to you delivering a great experience for your audience. It really is about focusing on the little details and designing end to end an amazing experience for your audience. It's not just about the speaking, it's about bringing all of these various elements together to deliver a fantastic experience for your audience. And if that happens, you will enjoy your craft of speaking and talking and connecting and building rapport with your audience.